The small town of Willow Creek was buzzing with excitement as Emily Parker prepared to marry Daniel Carter, a soldier stationed overseas. Daniel was supposed to return months ago, just in time for their wedding, but his mission had been delayed, leaving Emily to wonder if he would make it at all. She couldn't bring herself to cancel, so she clung to hope, believing that love would find a way. Guests filed in, nervously glancing at the empty groom's side, while Emily stood at the window, feeling the weight of her dress and the uncertainty of the moment. She wondered if Daniel would make it, if he was okay, and what would happen if he didn't show. Her parents tried to comfort her, but their smiles couldn't mask the fear in their eyes. As the music began, Emily took her first step down the aisle, her heart pounding in her chest. The guests rose, but there was still no sign of Daniel. The left side of the church remained empty, and whispers filled the air. She tried to stay composed, but each step felt heavier than the last. She reached the altar, trembling, and prepared to say her vows alone. Just as the officiant asked if anyone had reason to object, the doors of the church swung open with a loud bang. Emily's breath caught in her throat as gasps rippled through the room. Could it be him? There, standing in the doorway, was Daniel. He was wearing his army uniform, his face weathered and tired, his hair disheveled, and his boots caked in dust. He looked nothing like the man she had imagined walking down the aisle in a tuxedo, but he was there, alive and real, standing before her, his eyes locked onto hers. His lips parted into a worn but genuine smile, and Emily felt her knees weaken. Tears filled her eyes in an instant, her vision blurring as she looked at him, struggling to process the sight. Her breath hitched, and she felt a rush of emotions crash over her: relief, joy, disbelief. It was him. It was really him. The guests sat frozen, their eyes wide, some even holding their breath. A few started to cry, unable to contain the overwhelming emotions that the moment sparked. Whispers of astonishment spread like wildfire through the room. How had he made it? Was he really here? Was this a dream? Emily couldn't move. She stood there at the altar, her heart soaring and shattering all at once. Her legs felt weak, like they might give out beneath her. She reached out a hand instinctively, trembling, her mind still struggling to catch up with the reality of what was happening. Daniel took a step forward, his eyes never leaving hers. He took another step and then another, moving toward her slowly, like he was afraid if he rushed, he might wake up from this miracle. When he reached her, he stopped, standing just inches away. His breath was ragged, but his eyes were soft with something she hadn't seen in months: love. For a moment the entire world seemed to disappear. The room, the guests, the wedding, they all faded into the background as Emily took in the sight of him, the man she thought she had lost forever. "Emily," Daniel whispered, his voice hoarse but full of emotion. His hand reached up, brushing a tear from her cheek, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Emily finally let herself believe. It wasn't a dream, he was here. The room was still, every eye was on Emily, every breath held in suspense. She stared at Daniel, her heart aching, her emotions a whirlwind of disbelief and joy. Her lips parted, but no words came. She wanted to run to him, to throw herself into his arms, but something inside her froze. A wave of overwhelming emotion took over, her love for him, yes, but also something else. A deep aching realization: she couldn't move. Instead of rushing to Daniel, as everyone expected, Emily's grip tightened on the bouquet. Without thinking, her fingers loosened and the flowers fell to the ground with a soft thud. She didn't even notice it, didn't even care. She turned on her heel, her heart pounding in her chest, and in one swift motion, she sprinted toward the back of the church, her wedding dress billowing behind her like a cloud. Gasps filled the air as the guests watched in confusion. Whispers erupted, their voices low but frantic. What was happening? Why wasn't she happy to see him? Why had she left? Daniel's eyes widened in shock as he stood frozen at the altar, his hand still raised as if he could reach her. He hadn't expected this. He had braved a dangerous mission, fought through exhaustion, just to come back to her, to see her smile, to make everything right. And now she was running away from him. His heart sank, the joy he had felt just moments ago evaporating into a hollow ache. Was this her way of telling him she didn't want him anymore? Was he too late? Did she no longer need him? He looked down at the bouquet lying on the floor, the flowers a symbol of everything they had dreamed about together. But in this moment, they felt like a cruel reminder of everything he had failed to give her. He tried to move, tried to follow her, but his feet were heavy, rooted in place by the flood of doubt and hurt rising in his chest. He couldn't understand it. How could she leave now, after everything they had been through? As Emily reached the door, she heard the frantic whispers behind her, but she didn't stop. She pushed through the wooden door, her breath ragged, and stepped out into the quiet, cold air outside. She needed to think. She needed to breathe. She needed to understand what was happening inside her heart before she could face him. Inside the church, all that remained was the quiet hum of confusion, the weight of unanswered questions hanging in the air. The guests exchanged looks, unsure of what had just transpired. Where was the bride going? Why hadn't she embraced the man she had waited for so long? Daniel, still standing at the altar, swallowed hard, the sinking feeling in his stomach only growing with each passing second. Outside, the cold air hit Emily's face like a slap. Her chest heaved with each breath as she raced down the church steps, her wedding dress swirling around her legs. She didn't know where she was going. Her mind was clouded, her thoughts chaotic, but she had to get away from the church. She had to think. Then, just as she reached the end of the steps, she spotted the car. It was a small weathered vehicle, parked near the curb. The faint sound of a door opening caught her attention. She turned her head, and there, sitting inside, was an elderly woman, frail, but smiling warmly. It was Daniel's mother, Margaret. Her heart skipped a beat. Emily hadn't expected to see her here, not like this. Margaret had been in and out of the hospital for weeks now, her health deteriorating with every passing day. The doctors had said she was too weak to attend the wedding, but Emily had made arrangements. She had planned everything out. Margaret looked up as Emily approached, her smile faltering when she saw the distress on the bride's face. "Emily, my dear," Margaret said softly, her voice weak but filled with affection. "Why did you run? What's going on? Is Daniel here? I thought I'd miss it all." Emily felt her heart twist with guilt. She had made a promise to Daniel, to both of them, that she would make sure his mother could attend the wedding. The plan had been simple. If Daniel made it back in time, they would delay the ceremony so Margaret could see her son marry the woman he loved. But the moment Daniel had shown up, everything had spiraled out of control. Emily had forgotten the plan in the chaos of seeing him again. Tears welled in her eyes as she knelt beside Margaret's car, her voice trembling. "Margaret, I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking. I had to make sure you were here. Daniel would want you here. We planned for this moment together, all of us. I couldn't let you miss it. He needs you, Margaret." Margaret's hand rested on Emily's arm, her touch surprisingly firm despite her frailty. "Sweetheart, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. You need to go to him." Emily nodded, though her heart still felt like it was breaking. She gently helped Margaret out of the car, guiding her carefully up the steps toward the church. As they approached the door, Emily saw Daniel standing just inside, his face pale and lost, his eyes scanning the room in confusion. The pain in his expression hit her like a punch to the gut. She pushed the door open slowly, and Margaret, with Emily's help, stepped into the church. The moment Daniel saw them, his face shifted from confusion to something else entirely: relief, joy, and maybe even a touch of disbelief. "Mom," he whispered, stepping forward. Tears welled in Daniel's eyes as he took his mother's hand, his body shaking with emotion. He didn't know what had happened, why Emily had run, but in this moment, nothing else mattered. He had made it back. He had made it in time for the most important people in his life. Emily stepped back, her heart aching as she watched the two of them reunited. She wiped her eyes, trying to regain some composure. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I was just trying to give your mother the chance to be here, for you." Daniel looked at her, his face softening, his eyes filled with understanding. Slowly, he crossed the room and took her hands in his. "You gave me a chance to be here too, Emily. I thought I was too late, that I'd lost you forever, but I'm here now, and we're going to do this together, like we always planned." Emily nodded through her tears, finally allowing herself to believe it. The wedding wasn't over. It was just beginning. With Margaret sitting proudly in the front row, supported by Emily, Daniel felt his heart swelling. For a moment he couldn't quite believe it. He was here, finally standing before Emily, ready to marry her. The church, once filled with whispers and uncertainty, now buzzed with an air of relief and quiet joy. It felt like a breath had been released, like the tension of the day had suddenly melted away. Emily stood beside him, her eyes red from the tears that had flowed earlier, but now there was a calm, a peace in her, that he hadn't seen before. The moment felt sacred, filled with something deeper than words could express. The guests watched in silence, all of them holding their breath, sensing the raw emotion that hung in the air. The officiant, who had stepped aside for a moment to collect himself after the whirlwind, now moved forward. His voice was steady as he asked Daniel and Emily to share their vows. The room, once filled with nervous whispers, was now completely still. Daniel looked into Emily's eyes, the woman he had thought he might never see again. His voice cracked as he began to speak, the emotions welling up inside him, but he didn't care. He was here, he was with her. Emily, I don't have the right words to explain what I feel for you. These months apart, I've spent them wishing for the day I could be here, with you. I don't care about anything else, nothing matters but this moment. You are my heart, my soul, and the love of my life. I promise to love you, to fight for you, for all the days of my life. No matter what happens, I will always come back to you. Emily's heart thudded in her chest, as tears welled in her eyes. She took his hands, her voice trembling but steady as she spoke. Daniel, I've waited for you, prayed for you, dreamed of this day. But it wasn't until I saw you standing there in that uniform, that I realized how much strength I draw from you, how much love we share. I promise to support you, to stand beside you, no matter what the future brings. We've already faced the hardest test, and yet here we are, together, forever. The church seemed to hold its breath as they exchanged their vows, the weight of the moment overwhelming every soul in the room. As the officiant declared them husband and wife, the tears didn't stop. The crowd stood, their applause filling the room with a thunderous sound of joy, of relief, and of love that had overcome every obstacle. No one had expected this wedding, but somehow, it had turned out to be the most beautiful emotional celebration of love anyone had ever seen. Daniel leaned in, kissing Emily softly, their lips meeting in a moment of pure connection, and as they pulled away, the room erupted in cheers, the warmth of their love radiating through the church. It wasn't the wedding anyone had anticipated, but it was the wedding they had always needed, and it was perfect. The standing ovation seemed to go on forever, but in that moment, Emily and Daniel only had eyes for each other. Their love had triumphed over everything, and now, they were finally starting their forever together. Later that evening, the small reception hall buzzed with warmth and laughter. The guests gathered around tables, glasses of champagne in hand, basking in the joy that had filled the church just hours before. Daniel and Emily stood at the front, surrounded by friends and family, the weight of the day finally lifting from their shoulders. The tension and uncertainty were gone, replaced by a feeling of contentment, of peace. As they shared their first dance, Daniel gently pulled Emily close, his arms wrapping around her with a tenderness that spoke of everything they had been through to get here. She rested her head against his chest, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat soothing her. After a moment, Daniel cleared his throat and looked up at the guests. I guess I owe you all an explanation, he said, his voice still carrying the rawness of the day. The room quieted, and everyone turned their attention to him. I barely made it home in time. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I was on a mission when I got word of Emily's wedding, and I fought every step of the way to get back to her. My plane got delayed, then my transport was stuck in traffic, and I was certain I wouldn't make it, but somehow, through everything, I got here. And I'm so grateful I did. The guests nodded, some smiling through tears. It had been a journey, but they had all believed in the love between Daniel and Emily. Emily stepped forward, her voice steady but filled with emotion. I just want to thank all of you for believing in us, for believing in love. Even when it seemed impossible, you showed us that anything can happen if you hold on to hope. The music swelled, and the room erupted into laughter, cheers and applause. The couple danced into the night, surrounded by friends and family, who had witnessed a love story no one would forget. And as they twirled beneath the soft lights, Emily realized that sometimes even the most impossible dreams come true. This was just the beginning of their forever. What an incredible journey of love, faith, and perseverance we've witnessed today. Daniel and Emily's story shows us that no matter how impossible things might seem, true love always finds a way. Their love triumphed over distance, delays, and doubts, and we saw a beautiful reunion that no one will forget. If you enjoyed this story, and felt the power of love shining through every twist and turn, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to share this heartwarming story with your friends and family. It's a reminder that miracles can happen when we least expect them. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future stories filled with hope, love, and inspiration. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and share what this story means to you. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Stay tuned for more stories that will touch your heart.